Chapter 19. Conclusion. Both you and Tiffany froze, hands half raised in a gesture of surrender. It was purely instinct, the motion appearing the natural response when you had a barrel of a gun unsteadily pointed at you.
Didn't expect to see me, did you? I made bond and decided to come here after getting my uncle's gun. Had enough of this shit. The lawyer says I'm probably going to jail and my career in engineering is over with.
Scott said, wiping sweat from his eyes with his other hand. Tiffany was going from shocked to alert, and you didn't like how her eyes narrowed when she opened her mouth.
Scott, your issue is with Reader. I won't get in the way of you two. Shut the fuck up, bitch. I know how you were lying through your fucking teeth to me.
Scott nearly screamed, poking the gun against her chest. The moment of confidence was gone. Now she was cringing away with her eyes closed. Lying? You asked, feeling like you were only seeing half the picture here. Tiffany knew him, and there was no mistaking the hatred in Scott's eyes as he was glaring at the girl.
Yeah, she was the one who told me you had sex with a monster to get the job.
Of course she did.
But as much as I hate you two, I even hate those monsters more, especially the two who nearly killed me. So if you tell me where they are, you two get to live.
Scott said, an evil smirk on his face. Your brain was racing a mile a minute. You had to think of a response, but what? Maybe you could say they were with the ambassador.
They're in the basement!
Tiffany nearly shrieked, taking a step back. Seriously, how did someone who literally bonded her soul to those guys be able to turn coat so fast? Wasn't there supposed to be some soul bond rule in place which said thou cannot get your soulmate killed?
Well, show me where it is,
Scott said, voice finally going back to normal volume. You both turned and headed through the back door, ever conscious of the gun aimed at you from behind. The air conditioner did nothing to stop the sweat streaking down your back. The three of you took slow steps down to the basement door, a steel door with an alphabetical keypad on the side wall. A red light above the keypad indicating the door was locked.
What's the password?
Scott asked, twitchy eyes going from keypad to the door. Arithmetic, he said, rushing the word out before Tiffany could say anything.
That's not the code,
Tiffany said with a frown. Tiffany, you've been gone for over 2 months. Do you really think we'd keep the same code since then? You asked, rolling your eyes. Act confident, don't pee in your pants, pray someone on the other side picked up on what word was typed.
Yeah, Tiffany, shut your fucking mouth. I don't need to hear any more of your lies,
Scott said, shoving the girl against the wall as he quickly passed by. The gun was still pointed at you two, while Scott had his eyes trained on the keypad. Tiffany gave the guy an icy glare, which quickly turned back to a terrified expression. Not as genuine now. Scott turned to them, grinning, as he typed letters on the pad, trying to keep his eyes on both the keypad and them.
Let's get this party started.
It hurts, Paps. Was all fake. The words could barely be made out between the sobs erupting from Sans as he clung to his brother, blue, watery tears soaking Papyrus's shoulder. Papyrus loved his brother, and while his brother was good with secrets, there was one thing Papyrus knew about him. He protected himself. Some people kept a wall between themselves and others. His brother had a wall, moat, and a hedge maze to keep others at a distance, always ready to divert attention with a joke or prank, never committing to trusting others as ready as Papyrus. Which is why Papyrus knew it wasn't enough to tell Sans what Tiffany was truly like. He would not believe anyone, not even his own brother, because Tiffany got past all those obstacles and lodged herself comfortably in Sans's heart. Sans protected his heart more than anyone Papyrus knew, but once you got past those barriers, his faith in you was unwavering. Only witnessing the real Tiffany would work. It took manipulating Reader, though, to make that happen, and the guilt scratched at Papyrus's soul. So many others, especially Tiffany, already manipulated his friend. But as much as he valued his friendship with Reader, his brother's well-being came first.
I'm sorry, Sans. I know this is hard.
Papyrus said, rubbing Sans's back, hoping it would ease the sobs.
Beep.
Apparently Karma decided Papyrus had to pay a price for his actions because he got a lot more than he bargained for. All he was hoping was for Sans to catch Tiffany dropping her act, showing her darker side. He didn't count on her doing a full-out confession of how she played with Sans like a puppet, how every memory and action between them was in her control. It might have destroyed any chance Tiffany had of laying claim on his brother, but it was too much, too damaging. He could hear his brother's soul crack, grief hitting him harder than ever before.
Listen, Sans. In my world, there's plenty of monsters who separated from their soulmate. You never have to see her again,
Mutt said, giving Sans's other shoulder a pat. Edge was staring at the wall, face expressionless, after Sans shared the news of what he heard from Tiffany.
Beep. What is with that stupid beeping?
Edge screamed, whirling and glaring at the computer against the wall.
Relax, boss. Someone is putting in the wrong code to get in. Probably the skank. They keep typing the word arithmetic,
Red said, glancing at the screen. Black's eye lights shrunk to tiny dots.
Fuck! Why isn't this fucking working?
Yelled Scott, turning to glare at the duo. Tiffany always considered herself good at staying cool under pressure, but even she was reaching her limit. Still, though, this could all turn out good for her. Very good. All the skeletons who did not trust her were closest to the basement door. The ones still soul-bonded with her were farthest. This could all end with her no longer worrying about the ones who didn't trust her, especially Blue. Scott would be killed, but not before getting some shots off on the monsters who were making her life difficult. And afterwards, it would be Reader linked to Scott, indirectly causing it all because Scott was out to hurt Reader. She didn't plan this. It was all just falling into place perfectly. And as a cherry on top, Scott was pointing the gun a lot more at you because he couldn't get the door open. Look, it's a long word. Maybe you're just typing it wrong. Do you want me to do it? Her fellow hostage said, shrugging his shoulders.
I am typing it right. Are you screwing with me? Because I will.
Two bodies jerked in two directions. Reader in a blue light flying up the stairs. Scott slamming into the door with a large bone sticking in his stomach. Both Tiffany and Scott stared dumbly at the white bone shaped like a spike, its sharp end firmly lodged in the skinny man's body. Blood was already staining the shirt. Tiffany turned and jogged up the steps, cursing that she was left there. When she reached the top, she saw you laying on the floor with Blue on top of you. Blue light shimmered around the two like a bubble as Blue's eye lights moved from her to the stairs repeatedly. The others were frozen, scowls and grimaces in place, no doubt from how bad things were. It was Sans, though, who got her attention. He looked pissed. Eyes totally black. For the first time, the easygoing skeleton appeared rageful with teeth bared and hands turned into fists. A part of her instantly thought he looked hot, her easygoing skeleton turning into a rabid animal to protect her.
Fuck you all!
Tiffany turned, frozen in place. Scott might have been hurting, but not down for the count. He waved the gun barrel from one end of the room to the other, blood dripping from his body and face pale. Blue slid himself to the side, practically shielding Reader from Scott.
Kill him!
She yelled, forgetting that was something Tiffany Levine would say, not Tiffany Loves. She was breaking character, but didn't care. She just wanted the crazy twerp dead. It was a mistake. Her words instantly drew the shaky gun and hate-filled eyes. She could see him taking aim with a body barely able to stay upright, but she didn't move. Don't move. One of your skeletons will save you. Sans will save you. Those seconds, though, stretched into forever as she noticed something. Everyone was taking a step away from her. No one was raising a wall of bones or throwing another attack at Scott. They were just standing there. Why the hell were they just... Bang! You flinched under Blue, his grip gentle but firm as he kept you in place under him when the gunshot pierced your ears. From what you could barely make out, Scott collapsed backwards, his own gunfire throwing him back down the stairs. There were sounds of a tumble and screams. You were pretty sure the fall plus being impaled had just killed him. Did someone get shot? You muttered, feeling Blue's weight finally lift off you as he scanned the surroundings.
Yes,
Blue said simply, turning to gaze at the other side of the room, expression neutral. That's when you saw her, Tiffany laying on the floor with blood soaking her stomach. No one was moving. Everyone else was just staring down at her as the bloodstain got larger. You'd almost swear time was frozen with how stark still everyone was. Mr. Levine, I promise you I'll try everything I can to get her back to you alive. Shit! You shouted, scrambling from under Blue, your cursing and movements taking him by surprise. You were too busy running towards Tiffany to notice, pulling your shirt off and placing it over the wound. The smell of blood strong in the air as your shirt became another casualty of ugly red stains. Someone call 911! You yelled, looking at Tiffany's face. Her breathing was fast, and the skin normally a healthy tan color was now pale. You didn't know what to do. You weren't a doctor or a nurse. Just let her die, kid. You turned to Sans and saw even Tiffany incline her head slightly. The disgust couldn't be more evident on his face as he glared at the dying girl. He knows. You don't know how he knew it all, Tiffany targeting and using him, but he knew. From the way every other skeleton stood back, making no motion to help, he wasn't the only one. None of that mattered, though. I'm not letting someone die just because they're a bad person, you said, finding Sans go from glaring at her to staring at you. You ignored him, trying to stay determined as you clumsily pulled out your phone with one hand while still using the other to press your shirt on the bleeding. I made a promise to her dad. I said I'd get her back to him alive. I know she doesn't deserve it, but I'm just not... Why was it so damn hard to dial 911 on your phone? It was the blood. God, the blood everywhere, including on your fingers, making them slippery and hard to press numbers. You could literally feel her dying under your hand. Suddenly, another big hand covered yours, blue light glowing from the wound.
I'll use my gravity magic to stop the bleeding, Reader. Just concentrate on calling for the ambulance.
Blue said, the words coming to your right ear from behind as you smelled his minty breath. Blue, are you kidding me? You should want her dead even more than me. Why? Sans nearly screamed, looking ready to tackle both of you. Blue rested his chin on your shoulder, his gaze still focusing on the injury below him.
Because he's my friend and needs me,
he said, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. Then another hand came to rest on the body, now making it a hand pile. Phalanges not nearly as thick, but longer and more elegant, and now there was a green glow with blue. My healing magic should also help close the wound. Reader, how are you doing with calling for help? I'm good. Yes, hello. I need an ambulance here, you said, finding it hard to look at the two skeletons practically cuddled against you. Even harder to look at Sans, who stared at all of you with jaw dropping before he shouted simply one word. Brother?
I'm sorry, Sans. Reader is right. We shouldn't let someone die just because they're a bad person. I know you want the bond broken, but this isn't the way. We'll find a better way,
Papyrus said, with pleading eyes. The answer wasn't good enough. It was obvious from Sans's grimace as he disappeared in a blink of an eye. I'll track Vanilla down. Make sure he doesn't get into trouble, Red said, popping out of existence as well. I'll escort the responders in. Mutt, go check on the other one at the stairs, Black said, walking towards the front door.
Yes, my lord.
Everyone appeared to do something. Edge was calling the ambassador and royal family to explain what happened. Mutt had returned only a minute later to say Scott was dead. No one even tried to appear sad about it. And soon, Black came in with the emergency responders. Tiffany had passed out by then, being lifted up to a gurney and rolled out. All of you watched her escorted out, Black offering to accompany them and answer any questions they had.
Reader, are you okay? You have a lot of blood on you,
Blue said, rubbing your shoulder. You stared dumbly from him to your own body. The blood had stained you everywhere from your hands to your naked torso. It looked like someone took a giant red paintbrush and went crazy on you. It's not mine,
Yes, I know that, Reader,
Blue said, forehead wrinkling in concern. He wasn't the only one. The other skeletons were also watching you. Why were they all looking at you like that? Was it the blood? Skeletons didn't have blood. Maybe they thought it was weird to see.
Blue, could you please take Reader upstairs for a shower? Me and Edge will stay here to speak with the police and ambassador,
Papyrus said, getting a nod from his edgy twin.
I'll find some clean clothes for the kid,
Mutt said, in a rare moment of volunteering to do something. He gave you a wink before disappearing. You didn't have a chance to think about it too much. Blue already had a large arm around your waist, gently escorting you to the stairs. You found your head leaning on his broad shoulder, cheek feeling warm against the black fabric of his shirt. Nothing was said until you got inside the bathroom.
Are you okay with me helping you out of your clothes?
Blue asked, still appearing worried. Those wrinkles hadn't disappeared from his forehead. You nodded, the response instantly leading to phalanges undoing your pants from behind and pulling down. There was no sexual teasing or flirting. The skeleton's movements appeared simply gentle and efficient. Before you knew it, you found yourself naked and shivering slightly. Blue was already turning on the water faucet, showerhead spraying out. He tested the water for a minute before nodding with approval, steam rising from the floor.
Okay, in you go,
Blue said with a gesture, old grin in place. It made you smile as well for a second. The smile disappeared as you saw how much redder the shower room got with you in it. Blood and water flowing down to the floor, then to the drain. You jumped, startled a little as the washcloth rubbed your back, feeling Blue make circular motions with his hand on you.
I'm just going to help you wash this time, but let me know if you want me to leave,
Blue said, going from back to stomach. He had taken his own shirt off, revealing a thick body made of white flesh. I'm good with you staying, you said, and nearly winced at how out of it you sounded. You just felt like you were in a daze as you watched his hand move up and down your body, dark red marks being washed away as if they had never been there. You couldn't stop staring at his face, even if you were getting borderline creepy. The way he appeared to concentrate on every swipe, careful in his care like he was cleaning a delicate piece of glass. It was the wrong expression. He should have a different look on his face. It was finally hitting you what you did to him. He shouldn't be looking at you with kindness. Why don't you hate me? Blue nearly dropped the washcloth, eyes widening.
Why?
I just helped save Tiffany. I got you to help me save Tiffany. She killed Stretch and I saved her. You should hate me, you said, voice rising. The tears would be more evident if you weren't under a flowing shower. Blue cocked his head to the side before speaking, setting the washcloth aside.
Why did you try to save her?
Because I promised her dad and I just didn't want anyone to die. Okay? I didn't want anyone to die, Blue. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Thick arms wrapped around you, your face burying itself into his chest. You'd swear you saw a glimmer of white light between the thick bones, but by then you didn't care. You were sobbing now, the tears very obvious. You even ended up smearing snot onto him. God, What an ugly sight you must make. He just held you firmly, though, white muscles keeping you against him as he rocked you.
Don't ever apologize for being you. I thought we already settled that.
Blue whispered in your ear, stroking your wet hair. The phalanges moving through it sent a shiver of pleasure down your spine. You finally wiped your face with one wet hand, looking up. You knew you looked like crap, puffy eyes and stuffy nose, and he appeared handsome as usual, blue eyelights wonderful to see up close. You didn't even think of what you did next. You wrapped your arms around his neck, pulling him down, seeing eyelights getting even bigger as he realized what was happening. He didn't stop you, though, as your lips clumsily touched his. A second later, his white lips responded. He turned the kiss from clumsy to possessive, blue tongue entering your mouth as he dipped your head back. You felt one of his phalanges lightly caress your naked back as the tongue leisurely took its time touching your own tongue. Finally, after what felt like forever, he pulled back, another phalange wiping spit off your bottom lip.
We take it slow.
You blinked and looked up, brain still addled by what just happened. Blue was grinning again, maybe feeling proud at what effect he had on you.
We take it slow. Assuming you want to do this again, I don't want to risk messing this up.
Blue nearly whispered the last words, phalanges now stroking your cheeks as he stared into your eyes. You swallowed before finally speaking. I do want to do it again, but yeah, I want to go slow, you said, seeing the grin widen with your words. Have another flower delivery, dear.
Thanks, Mom,
Tiffany said with a roll of her eyes, seated in her wheelchair. The wheelchair she'd be seated in for the rest of her life because she lost feeling in her legs. Her mother walked into the living room, exotic jet black hair like her, but with pale skin. Here you go, sweetie, she said, dropping off flowers and a card. The smile on her face was fake, but she was going to put on a nice appearance as long as her dad was at the house. Dad already talked to her about how the two were getting a divorce, and now the bitch was pissed because she thought it was Tiffany's fault. Like she meant to get freaking shot. How did her getting shot even make Dad grow his spine and demand a divorce? Yeah, thanks, Tiffany said, response just as insincere as she stared at the flowers. They were violets, and just like their name, they were a deep purple. After learning in detail Black's tastes, her instincts instantly screamed this was from him. She waited until her mother left before taking the card under the flowers with shaky hands. When she opened it, she saw signatures from all the skeletons, except for Sam's, and a single phrase under the signatures. Don't ever come back. The words instantly made her think of her last memory when she was shot, how she was lying on the floor bleeding, and the skeletons were all just staring at her from above. Not one single phalange lifting to help, just staring down at her as she was dying.
You think you can just pretend I never existed,
She muttered darkly, scratching her chest. She still felt it. 3 soul bonds which still existed. 3 connections which told her the general direction of where Sans, Mutt, and Edge were at this very moment.
I'm not someone who just disappears quietly. Okay, are you ready, boyfriend?
Blue asked, loving using the word boyfriend. Reader gave him permission to call him it a month after they dated. It felt nice using the word and realizing it was real this time. The guy in front of him was his boyfriend. They were both naked on Reader's bed. He insisted they do it the first time at the guest house. He didn't want to do it on the same bed where he touched Tiffany. It was silly, of course. He knew he'd get over it. He just wanted nothing to ruin the feeling of how special this moment would be. Yeah, it's just... You sure nothing will go wrong? You asked, frowning in worry.
No, as long as the wart is on your skin, there's no chance we'll soul bond,
Blue said, patient and repeating the explanation. He couldn't blame Reader for being concerned, considering how quickly a certain other human ended up soul bonded with so many. And it won't, like, rub off?
It would take a bit of effort to get rid of it. You would have to scratch it off hard, but I have an idea.
Blue said, edging closer and lifting up your face with one phalange under your chin.
We do it with you lifted up in the air, legs around my waist. No worries of it being rubbed off.
Blue could see the concern turn to eagerness on Reader's face. Together, the both of you spent the morning catching up on lost time and intense emotions. After time passed by way too quickly, he let you go so he could clean up the beautiful mess.
I'm going to get fresh sheets and a towel, boyfriend.
Blue said, kissing your forehead. This would normally be the part where you'd insist on helping, but it looks like you were on the edge of passing out. As he gathered the sheets and towels in the closet, his mind finally went to the only other time he's been with a human. He swore to himself he wouldn't think of her during your own time together, but now that it was done, he couldn't stop himself from at least making a brief comparison. The soul bonding should have made the sex more enjoyable with Tiffany, but it was nothing like with you. Never before had he felt himself lose such control. Maybe it was because she had so many soul bonds? Or maybe because this time the emotional bonds between the two of you were much more sincere.
Forget her,
Blue whispered to himself as he headed back to the bed. Still, though, it was a little scary. If it was like that with a ward, just how intense would it be when you did soul bond? He gave you an hour to rest before carrying you to a chair so he could clean and change the bed. From there, it was taking a shower together and then making some lunch. The whole time, you looked buzzed. For the first time, you acted lazy, letting him do all the work to make lunch. A smile on your lips as you just watched him. He liked that smile. He hoped to see it more. A knock on the door interrupted you both before you could take bites into the sandwiches. Reader went to open the door, smile still in place, but it disappeared when you saw the visitor. It was Sans, with his usual slouchy posture. "Hey, sorry, kid. Just came by to ask something," Sans said with a smile, but he took a step back when he glanced over at Blue. Blue knew he was giving off the scary, hollow look, but damn it, this was supposed to be your day together. Everyone was supposed to know the two of you wanted to be alone today, including Sans. Then the skeleton sniffed the air, and that's when his cheeks started glowing blue. "Oh, I see I interrupted something. I'll just, come back later." "It's fine, Sans. I know you wouldn't come here unless it was important," you said, rubbing your forehead. "Well, yeah, but a soul bonding moment." "We didn't soul bond. We, used a ward," you said, and Blue quickly moved. He had an arm on your shoulder, giving you a squeeze. He could tell you were uncomfortable talking about it.
Soul bonding is a serious event, something we decided should wait until we've been together much longer,
Blue said, pulling you against him. He needed to do everything both verbally and physically to send the message. He wanted this too. He supported you in it. He never wanted you to feel ashamed or pressured because you wanted to wait. Sans was looking from you to Blue. His smile was back. It was different, though. In fact, something about it made Blue think he looked envious. "You know, the first time I did it with Tiffany, I gave her a ward on her hip." Blue could feel Reader tense slightly next to him. Blue himself felt like he was thrust into unknown territory. This was the first time he heard Sans talk about her. Papyrus begged him to go to therapy just like Blue, to get help for the things Tiffany put him through. He just waved it off, though. And the second anyone tried to have a serious talk with him about Tiffany, he just shortcutted away. Even when it was his own brother, he would just disappear. Everyone soon gave up, knowing they couldn't force the subject on him. "What happened?" you asked hesitantly, probably not sure if you were allowed to ask. "She scratched it off right before She swore it was an accident. How it was so good she lost control of her body. Stupid lie to believe in, right?" "We all believed her lies, Sans. and I don't think I ever thought you were stupid. It was the right thing to say. Blue noticed Sand's smile become more sincere. He found himself a little jealous, though. Once again, it was supposed to be your day together, and his twin was here drawing attention to himself.
Cousin, what was the question you had?
Blue asked, no longer caring if his words made him appear rude. He felt his human rub his back, so maybe he felt impatient too. Well, Reader, you cut off my access to the machine. The code's changed. No one will give it to me. Also, I can't teleport into the basement. Correct. You gonna tell me why, kid? You already know the answer, you said with a sigh. You lifted up a hand and placed it on Sans's shoulder. Now Blue was the one who tensed up. Sans wasn't exactly safe to touch. Anyone could see the skeleton's mind and soul were still coping with Tiffany's handiwork. It was a big irony of Blue being the one worried, considering how his mental state used to be. I promise I'll do everything I can to help you try to break the soul bond, but I can't let you try to use the machine to do it. It's too dangerous, Sans. You said. Blue's eyes widened as he realized what was going on. Sans must have been looking into repeating the incident of teleporting Tiffany to the void, hoping to get his bond broken as well on a second try. Wouldn't be an issue if you let her die. Sans frowned as soon as he said the words, regret written on his face. You swallowed, pulling your hand away, but Sans caught it with his own. Blue found himself growling, the rumbling sound going up his throat to between his teeth. The lazier version ignored it, though, giving your hand a squeeze. Sorry, kid. I shouldn't have said that. I know you'll help. You keep your promises. I actually like that about you. Sans said, finally letting your hand go. I try, you said, snuggling a little into Blue. Well, I'll leave you two lovebirds alone. Peace. Sans said with a salute and smile back in place, disappearing. He took it better than expected.
Yes, I'm really proud of you,
Blue said, pulling you into a full hug. You put your face in the crook of his neck, taking a deep breath.
You stopped him, even though it might mean a confrontation. You really have gotten braver,
Blue said, rubbing your back. You've changed too, in good ways, you said, raising your head, getting rewarded with a soft kiss.
Of course, I have you,
Blue said with a grin. In the back of his mind, he wondered if he should bring it up, how there were others who wanted you, Black, Papyrus, and Red. He decided against it, though. You already knew, after all. It wasn't like they were being subtle. He considered himself lucky you chose him. Part of him wanted you all to himself, but having multiple mates could lead you to being happier and safer. He knew he could share. Monsters might get jealous, but they could adapt to sharing intimacy much better compared to humans. In the end, he wouldn't encourage it, but also wouldn't prevent it. He'll let you take the lead if those three started pushing. You always showed better judgment compared to him anyways. With that last thought, Blue gave you another kiss, this time lifting you off your feet. The end.